Good morning and welcome back to another edition of Survive to Thrive Daily with me, Dr. Todd, giving you tips and tricks to move you out of the world of just surviving, which is never fun. Think about you bobbing under and above water, just trying to stay afloat versus actually, on a jet ski on top of the water. Ripping along in life. This is the concept, and today we're gonna be talking about stuff that's impossible. You ever get to that moment where you're just trying to do some stuff, you're trying to get some things done, and everything just like is meeting resistance? Like you try to get somewhere, and in the traffic, there's traffic, and even in Elko, you're like, gosh. Like I was doing this and it normally would have taken 5 minutes, but now it's like taking 25 minutes to do the same thing. And then you just hit every stoplight and you get all of these things. In life, a lot of times we get nailed with things that become like impossible. We think that the impossible is not doable. And so often we frame our lives based on what we can get done. Framing it on the aspects of what is possible in what we know and what we accomplish on a daily basis, only to leave the impossible untouched. And if you look back in history, the people that were famous, the people that actually made the history book, were always the people that actually questioned the impossible. I love the story of the mile being done in less than 4 minutes. It was an accomplishment that was considered totally impossible. It was an accomplishment that somebody once actually looked at and said, I think I can do it. But everybody around him said that he couldn't. There's just no possible way, based on the way people were finishing, based on the way people were running, based on the technology that they had. It just couldn't be done until it was. Because once the mile was broken under 4 minutes, within a couple weeks it was done 2 more times by 2 different individuals. The craziness in all of this is that the mind limits what could be done until it actually expands and often can see. The hard part of the concept that I'm bringing you today is that everybody's got an impossible. Now, you may be able to put this in your world today in a different area, and we can talk about those areas, but it matters not the area or the arena that this goes, it's the mindset in each one of those arenas that you're living under. We come to the conclusion that most people live within what they know, what they've seen to be true, and what they know. And so you exist within that framework, literally like within that sandbox is what you play. So the tip and the trick today is to challenge that mindset. It's to challenge that mindset and start to see the impossible and go after it. Just like the mile that could never be done in under 4 minutes until it was done. So you're facing something today that may be seemingly impossible. Now I understand what's impossible to one person may not be impossible to another. I look at a triathlon and I'm like, ugh, I don't like swimming. So I see that as impossible, but it's only created here because there are thousands of people on a daily basis that go out and train and go after the impossible in my mind. They actually go and compete in triathlons. Now, I could shift that mindset real quickly and get into training and starting to see if that becomes a possibility. I don't want to. There's other things that I want to do, but I'm using that as an example. I've set some other impossible goals for myself. But the tip and the trick for you today is to question where in your world you've limited yourself. Where in the world have you put this cap on what is possible? If healthy things grow, if expansion is part of your life, it's something that you do and you want to do, whether it's in your body and whether it's your spirituality, like your purpose can expand, or whether it's even with relationships, like people that you love, or the activities that you do, that you want to expand in your workplace, expand in your business if you're an entrepreneur, if you own your own business, that you understand this concept that expansion is part of you, then you need to start asking the questions of what have I seen as impossible and start to go after it. Matters not the category, as I mentioned, it matters so much the mindset about how you go about it. And it would be smart to set some of this impossibilities out there as a target to hit. And you see, here's a cool concept. I want to make $1 million. Okay, how quickly? By the end of the year. A lot of you may just be like, there's just no possible way. Okay, so there's the impossibility. But what if you went out after that impossibility and made $100,000 in the rest of the year? You'd be like, well, that's not bad, right? Well, you didn't hit the impossibility, but see, when you're striving towards that impossibility, you're moving in a direction that is only healthy and growth happens. So no matter if you hit the impossibility, you make that sub 4-minute mile, which in my mindset, for me, says that's impossible. I go run a mile. The fastest I've run a mile is like 6:20s. To be able to shed 2 minutes off that, it's an impossible game for me. Now, if I shifted my mindset and said, look, I could do that. I can create all sorts of negatives around that and say, look, my body type, I am a doctor, I understand muscle, fiber, orientation. I'm more of a fast twitch kind of guy, which means I'm more of a sprinter, and I don't have as much white twitch, white fibers, which are slow twitch, excuse me. So my aerobic capacity, see, I can make all of this stuff up. But then that limits me for the possibility of change. As a doctor as well, I know we can adapt to that. I know that a sub 4-minute mile is a damn near a sprint anyways. So it has to do with aerobic capacity. All right, it has to do with a lot of training. It has to do with shifting a mindset, ignoring pain, and being able to actually create the impossibilities as possibilities. So the question for you today is, where have you limited yourself and created an impossible in your life? Just based on your mindset, the way you believe, the way you've been taught, your experiences in life, you've created some impossibles that you need to actually go after. So I'd love for you to actually comment on this down below on our Facebook page as this gets launched, as you're listening to this, on your YouTube channel, wherever. I don't even care if you comment on what we do here as far as how we broadcast all this stuff. Comment with somebody else. Hey, I've often thought that, this was impossible. I'm going to go after it. Why not? Well, because amazing stuff happens on the journey. You know, you see, so your possibility of making $1 million in a year, okay? Well, that expands the mind. What would I have to do? Who would I have to become? What changes would I have to make in my life in order to get there? I want to be at 12% body fat. Some of you are like, oh my God, if I could only. Yeah, if you could only set that out as an impossible game that you start going towards, so that you actually start making changes, see the possibilities that start to unfold. And going that direction, what you start to create is momentum that whether you hit that or not, you're going in a direction that only good shit will happen. Man, I went from like 22% body fat down to 15. Didn't really hit the impossible 12. But you see, there's a new possibility. We do this with structure in the spine in our office. I love this concept because there is a mirror image that we tried to take. So take a scoliosis, a curve in the spine from the front, and say it's 30 degrees. Well, there's no possibility at that point to get a mirror image with a scoliosis. It's too rigid. It's way too rigid. It's 30 degrees here. We can't get the unique inverse, which is 30 degrees on the other side. The person can't move that direction. But it matters not, because what starts to happen is that 30 degrees potentially can go down to 15 degrees. And we have a new normal. You see, that new normal becomes the new possibility. And that new possibility from 15 degrees could maybe go to 0. So the unique inverse is not 30 from where it was, but it's down to 15. And the 15 can go to maybe 10, that can go to 5, that can go to 0, that can start to go the other direction. But we never knew that possibility until we started to challenge what we knew to be true. So where is it in your world right now that you're going to challenge, that you need to challenge this impossibility of what could be done? There's just no way that I can't do it financially. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the mindset, the skill set. I just can't do it. That you can flip that around and talk about this impossible game of going at it with the healthy direction of falling short of impossible would be nothing but amazing for you and your body and your being and your people that are around you, maybe even your bank account. Okay, that's all I got for you. Start to challenge the impossible in love, truth, and light. We'll talk to you next time.